Hello and welcome to English is Beautiful. My name's Kirsty and this video is for you if you're currently preparing for your CAE Advanced English exam with Cambridge or you're considering doing so. I'm going to go through the structure of the exam, what's expected of you, and give you a little bit of information, some hints and tips so that you can do your absolute best in the exam. In a further video, I interviewed some students and did some practice exams with them, which they generously offered to let me film. So subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss out on that video as well. Well, maybe multiple videos. Okay, so let's go. As you probably know already, all of the Cambridge speaking exams are done in pairs, okay? So there are 2 students, sometimes 3 if you happen to be the last group taking the exam and there's an odd number of students. They'll allow extra time if you are a group of 3. And then there are also 2 examiners in the room, okay? One of the examiners asks you questions and the other examiner is writing notes and just listening, okay? Don't be worried when they write things down. I'm sure that you know this already if you've got as far as the advanced exam, but try not to be worried when they write things down because they write down good things, they write down less good things. They're just trying to identify all of the reasons why they're giving you the grade that they're giving you, okay? So that they can discuss it afterwards, etc. and give you the most accurate grade possible. So don't worry about that. The exam takes about 15 to 20 minutes and it really gives you a good opportunity to demonstrate your level in English, okay? The whole way through you need to be thinking about showing off, basically. It's not like a conversation with your friends, okay? So I've had some students who've gone off abroad, they've spent time living in the UK, in America, in Ireland, or in other English-speaking countries, and they've got a great level of fluency, and they have a really natural-sounding chat, but maybe they just don't demonstrate an interesting range of vocabulary or grammar structures, and that's very important. So in part 1 of the speaking exam at advanced level, it's basically an opportunity for the examiner to get to know you a bit, for you to settle down and warm up and feel more comfortable in the exam situation. However, it is very important that you already start to demonstrate that you have a high level of English, that you can use a broad range of vocabulary, that you can use some complex structures maybe, and that you sound fluent and comfortable in speaking the English language. On the surface, the questions in this part of the exam are very similar to part 1 in the B1 and the B2 exams with Cambridge. They seem quite basic, they seem quite superficial. However, you do need to demonstrate this higher level of English, this advanced, beautiful English. The topics they ask you about could include your family, your future, your work and studies, where you're from, where you live now, perhaps your attitude to entertainment, to finding out about current affairs and the news, sports and fitness or food. A whole range of topics could come up. Okay, so be prepared to talk about practically anything. And just try to enjoy this part of the exam. Let them find out a bit about you and your partner as well. Try to smile and relax into it. Part 2 of the advanced speaking exam is the quite notorious photo task or individual turn, because each candidate individually has to speak about some photos and they're only given 1 minute to choose 2 of 3 photos that look a bit like this and answer 2 questions. It seems like a huge amount to do in only 1 minute, but trust me, there are some great techniques to go about doing this and give a good impression and manage to get in all of the information you need to get in only 1 minute and impress the examiner doing so. I'll make a later video focusing just on this part of the exam because lots of students get particularly worried about this part. They feel like they just can't manage the timing, they can't show off their English, they panic. So don't worry about it. We'll sort that out in a later video. Also, as a reminder, I'm going to be interviewing 2 of my beautiful English students and giving them an entire Cambridge exam. So that'll be in the next video. So you can see them going about doing this question and they do a really good job of it. Okay? After one of the candidates has completed their 1 minute, the other candidate is asked a very short question about the same set of photos, usually with a slightly different focus to the previous questions, and they're basically asked to choose which of these activities or which of these places or which of these jobs, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so you choose one of the photos or one of the activities or whatever based on this question. This is basically just to kind of give you an opportunity to demonstrate you are listening to your partner. So try not to repeat any of the vocabulary or structures that your partner's just used. And it just links the exam together a bit. It's only a 20 to 30 second answer that's expected, so don't worry too much about it. Then the examiner will give that person, that candidate, their own set of 3 photos, usually with a totally different focus and 2 totally different questions. And they have their opportunity during 1 minute to show off and answer the questions and choose 2 of the photos to give their great answer. Okay? And then back to the first candidate who has their 20 to 30 seconds. Then we go on to part 3. So in part 3 of the speaking exam at Advanced, it's basically the part of the exam where you have to show your capabilities interacting in English, discussing things, your negotiation techniques, how well you listen to your partner, how well you involve each other in this discussion. They give you a set of options, much like this, with a question in the centre. Again, time management is a key part of this task, along with these key phrases to ask opinions, give opinions, agree, disagree. You can see some of my previous videos for some useful phrases for agreeing and disagreeing. I'm sure there's 1 or 2 that you've never heard before. And it's really good to have plenty of those up your sleeve, ready to whip out and impress the examiner and the other candidate. Initially, you have 2 minutes to answer this question in the center of the spider diagram and consider at least 4 of these options. It's not the end of the world if you don't get through all of these options. Okay, so don't panic if you haven't discussed all 5 options in your 2 minutes. When the 2 minutes is up, the examiner will interrupt you and say thank you. Don't worry about that. They just need to make sure that they're carrying on with the timing of the exam so that they don't get behind on their schedule. Okay, so really don't worry about that. You need to kind of bounce between the different options, asking your partner about them, giving your opinions, agreeing, disagreeing, and trying to use some impressive language at the same time. Usually they're quite interesting topics, which hopefully you'll have plenty of opinions about. But remember that your real opinion is not that important, okay? So don't worry if your partner seems to have a totally different opinion to you and you feel quite strongly that they're not listening to you or something. Don't worry about that. Your real opinion doesn't actually matter. After the 2 minutes are up, the examiner will read a second question to you, which invites you to decide between these options in about 1 minute with a slightly different focus to the initial question. Listen very carefully to exactly what the examiner asks, because sometimes it's the opposite to what you might expect, or they ask for 2 options rather than 1. Okay, so listen very carefully and so that you know what you're making your decision about. When it comes to marking this exam, a whole quarter of your marks is based on your interactive skills, which basically are demonstrated in this part of the exam. So it's very, very important to be interacting well with your partner. Imagine you're in a top business meeting trying to make this decision, or you're in some international think tank making this decision. Part 4 of the advanced speaking exam, very similarly to the lower levels of Cambridge speaking exams, this last part of the exam allows you to dive into the topics from part 3 in a bit more detail and really develop your arguments a little bit more, demonstrate that you can discuss these issues on a complex level, on a deeper level, and express your personal opinion with justifications, explanation, examples. And it's actually really interesting, usually, the questions that are asked to you. So try to enjoy this part of the exam. It's the last part of the exam, so it's the impression that you're going to leave with the examiners. And it's also the part of the exam where they give you the opportunity to really demonstrate your level. Perhaps you haven't spoken as much as your partner in the previous part of the exam. The examiner then will try to give you the opportunity to speak more in part 4, so that you really have the opportunity to show off and give a demonstration of what you can do in English. The topics are usually really interesting, so try to enjoy it. As I said before, soon there'll be some videos with 2 of my beautiful English students doing some practice advanced speaking exams, with my feedback as well, with extra tips and hints, so you can see some examples and how they go about answering the different questions, the different parts of the exam. Okay, so hopefully that will be really useful for you and give you some confidence to go about doing this yourself. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope it was useful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Okay, bye bye. Oh, and by the way, subscribe if you haven't done already, so that you don't miss out on the next videos. And it's totally free and really helps me out to grow this channel. Okay, so bye bye, see you soon.